Hi everyone. This is our second session on time series modeling and signal processing. So, to recall something what we have discussed in last lecture, actually we discussed basically what is a time series and what are the properties especially and what are the available component of this time series, as well as what are the matrices that can be used to evaluate the time series models. And finally, we try uh, simulating a time series with the Python code. And now we are moving ahead and discussing on how do you forecast time series and what are the available models. Here we basically discuss three approaches. First one is simple exponential smoothing. Second one is Holt's method. And third one is Holt-Winter method. Actually, why do we need these separate models to forecast time series? The thing is, you all know that actually we discuss it. The time series is dynamic, which means it changing over time. That's the nature of any stochastic process. Then forecasting or predicting time series is not easy. We have discussed there are basically four components in time series, such as trend, seasonality, residuals, and things like that. Then based on these component and considering these component, we have to design, develop, or implement the respective model in order to forecast the future values of time series. So this is our first attempt. There are several approaches. So this is our first attempt to model the time series in order to forecast. Then first let's see the simple exponential smoothing. In that case, I previously said that the forecasting of this time series basically depend on the component of time series. In this scenario, the simple exponential smoothing, we considering non-trending, non-seasonal time series. Which mean in other word, last lecture we discussed it, the stationary data. In order to be stationary, a given time series, it should have neither trend nor seasonality. Then we discuss what are the ways of removing this trend and seasonality components as well. Some of them actually. Then in this case, we are discussing how do we forecast such time series using this simple exponential smoothing. Basically, under this category, simple exponential smoothing, we discussed two approach. One is simple moving average and other one is exponential weighted moving average. Then let's see first this simple moving average. Simply in this both scenario, we have common word that's called moving average. Then it is better to have clear idea on what is moving average. What does it mean? Otherwise, it will be difficult to understand rest of the theories and concept that we are going to discuss in this lecture series. Actually, you can read this statement. The moving average is a simple concept where it takes fixed length time window. You can see in this graphical representation, I have used this red color rectangle to show a given time window, which is fixed length. You can see the length is April to June, which means almost 2 months. Then what you have to do is, in the moving average, you have to move or slide this time window across the time series and calculate the sample mean of all points in that window. Then you select a fixed length time window, a fixed length time window, that is the keywords that you want to keep in your mind. Fixed length time window. Then what you have to do is you have to move it. You have to slide it across the time series and calculate the sample mean. Then once we select a fixed length time window, we have a sample, then you have to calculate the sample mean of all points in that window. Then this is called simple moving average. Actually, this simple moving average is equally weighted. That's what we say, simple moving average, since for the window size is n, each point has a weight of 1 over n. We are not assigning any specific weight for particular instances. It's equally weighted. Then the moving average is simply like this, right? Then to get better idea, just go with this example actually, right? Suppose you have following data set, then first time t1, t2 up to t10, then the data point, and calculating simple moving average. And you can see that in this case, I have considered window size as 3. In that case, we consider previous 3 time points, the data points, sorry, for the data points, and we calculate the average. In very first scenario, you can say T1, the data point is 2, the SMA is none, because there is no previous 3 values to calculate the mean. The second instance, once you comes to second instance in T2, we have 2 previous data point, but we want 3 previous data points because our window size is 3. Then still the SMA or simple moving average is none. Then once you comes into third point, T3, the values are 8, 0, and 2. Then altogether 10. Then you have to divide it by 3. Then the simple moving average at that point is 3.33. Likewise, you can calculate the following simple moving averages as well. For example, let's see in the T5, the data point that we want to consider to calculate the moving average is 6, 3, and 8. Then you have to divide it by 3. Likewise, you can perform this simple moving average. Right. Then we have looked at the way of calculating simple moving average. Then it's somewhat of a statistic. Then why do we calculate somewhat of a statistic measurements with respect to data, basically, like central tendency measurements like mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, covariance, autocovariance, things like that. There are many more. Then in addition to them, right now we are talking about this simple moving average as well. What's the purpose of having this? Why do we need this simple moving average? In last lecture, we discussed basically mean and variance. In that case, we have two. One is sample variance as well as sample mean and population mean and population variance. But in comes to here, you can read this sentence, what I have added here. This gives the statistic on the recent average of the data points. It gives the statistics or any idea or information on recent data point. What does it mean? Which means that rather we considering whole data. For example, once we calculate the mean, what we are doing is we sum up all the data points up to that and we divide the number of data points. Then it represents whole picture, overall average. But once we come to this window approach, sliding window approach or rolling window approach, what we are doing is we considering the recent data points and we checking whether what happened or what would happen. Actually, what happened, because based on the previous, we are going to forecast or predict what would happen in next stage. I have explained one scenario in here. For example, like in stock trading, you know that the stock market highly fluctuate. The fluctuation is too high. It's too random. So there are many more algorithms and many more research areas are there because of this fluctuation or randomness. In that scenario, rather considering whole past data in order to predict that near future, it's better to go with what happened in recent, what happened recently. In that scenario, we can go with simply like this simple moving average. It's one approach. In addition to them, there are many approach. If you are interested or if you are a data scientist or if you are for working on this time series data, actually you can consider instead of this simple moving average, there are many more like Markov theory, hidden Markov approach as well. In that case, they are predicting near future with near past, right? The simple moving average also, they use some technique, specific technique where they use fixed length of window and they calculate the mean of that in order to represent the data points. Actually, it's useful. The context where I explained previously, like stock trading and crude oil trading, forex, things like that. Okay. So this is the first approach, simple moving average. And let's see how do we code or practice this simple moving average using Python code. That's what actually you want to basically do, right? This is the previous code base that we discussed last lecture. The same data set I have used here as well. I just import this data and I have list first 5 data points to get somewhat of understanding on this data. And you can see that it's a monthly interval data set starting from 1991 and most probably 2008. So we actually discussed deeply through this on this data set. There are some cycle patterns and it's somewhat of upward trending data set. Then let's calculate simple moving average with window size 5. So this is how you can do it using this Python code. Actually, our data frame, that's what I use, df. Then I'm creating a new column, simple moving average with window size 5. That's what I use, -5. And we have observation, that's the field. You can see it here. That's the column, field value. Then this rolling, that comes from Python library, right? You can use it directly to calculate the simple moving average. Then you have to mention the time window, the length of the window, size of the window. Then I use 5. Then it calculates means of that. Then you can see the first 4 data points are null. We discussed this, what happened, because our window size is 5. Then fifth one onwards, it's calculating simple moving average, because he should have 5 data points to calculate the simple moving average. Then let's see what happened once we set it to 3. You can check it like this. Once you set it to 3 in here, what would happen actually? This first, second would be none, but from here onward, from 1991, first of I think August, September, right? Onwards, we have simple moving average value from here to the end of the data set. That's how you calculate simple moving average, right? Then I have plot this data to get some better understanding. In this blue color line, it shows the actual observation, and simple moving average in brown color or orange color, whatever, right? You can see that it's actually reflecting the pattern of observation. It's somewhat smoothing, but it reflects the actual pattern of data throughout the data set. That's what I say, it's useful information or useful statistic in order to get somewhat of a rough idea what happened in future, rather going with simple or overall average. We will, let's see that. Then here what I have done is, you can see I set this rolling window size into 25, which means we use 25 data points and take the mean. Then window size is 25. Then I plot all 3 together. Original observation, simple moving average with a time window 5, simple moving average with time window length of 25. See, in this green line, it's much smoother, which means it goes with population mean or overall mean. It close to overall mean, basically. That's what it represents somewhat a very smoother line, which means it is not much information, giving much information to us. It has some information, but in order to reflect that very recent things, it's better to go with small time window. But I'm not emphasizing it because it's totally depend on the domain and the available data sets. Then it should be decided by the data scientist or analyzer once he or she examine or refer the data set. In general, what we can say is, once you go with bigger size length of window, it much smoother, right? Good. Then that's the simple moving average, the theoretical aspect of simple moving average. So based on that, we can forecast the future simply, very simply, based on nearest or recent past data. Then it's depend on recent past data based on the window size. Right. Then I earlier said at the initial stage, we have 2 approach. First one is simple moving average. Then other one is exponentially weighted moving average. It's also a moving average, but the way of calculating this moving average and representing the data or sample is different. So the exponential weighted moving average is a type of moving average that places a greater weight and significance on the most recent data points. That's the key point here. It plays a greater weight and significance on the most recent data point. That actually exactly happened. If you are familiar with some Markov properties in statistics, in stochastic modeling, which says that you no need to bother about very past data, but very recent data. The expected value of next can be achieved or can be estimated with just previous data. That's Markov property simply. In here also, in the exponential weighted moving average, you can see that the equation where x bar t equal to alpha xt plus 1 minus alpha x bar sub t minus 1. T minus 1 in the sense just previous data point. And the xt can be calculated based on the xt as well as previous value of that x. And there is some constant called alpha. And it should be between 0 and 1. Why is that? Suppose these extreme corners of this range, first suppose 0, once you add 0 to alpha, what happened? Then first part, alpha x subscript t removed, and once it's 0, it just tally with the previous time series, previous value, just 1 lag. Then if it is 1, what happened? The last part of that equation will be vanished. Then it exactly the time series itself once alpha is 1. Then you can use this alpha as a hyperparameter and you can tune it to make the better forecasting. So that's what it's called exponentially weighted moving average. Then we are assigning some weight through alpha. In simple moving average, we didn't have such component. We just go with the sliding window approach or rolling window approach, where we just calculate the mean within that window and use that data statistics to reflect or forecast the future of time series. But in here, we assign some weight. It's another approach. We are assigning a weight and we are trying to forecast the future, right? Then there is a inbuilt function for that one as well in Python library. That's called EWM. You can just call it. And there is a hyperparameter alpha. Then I have set it to 0.2. I said it is, you can add it between 0 and 1. You can tune in between 0 and 1. And you have to actually train the model. You can test with distinct values. That's what I set it to 0.2. Then in here, you can see once it's lower, it's much smoother, right? It reflecting that pattern somehow, but it's much smoother. Then this is actually weighted average model where we can add this alpha parameter, alpha as a parameter or hyperparameter, so that you can tune the model to make better forecasting. Then let's see how do we forecast through this EMA method, right? Exponential moving average method. So in this Python library, we have this simple expo smooth class to perform this exponential moving average. Then I use the same data set because I'm just illustrating and demonstrating the things. If you want to get better understanding on that, you have to practice it with this hyperparameter tuning and other things, so that you will be able to get much more clear understanding on this, right? Then I create a model using this simple exponential smoothing class. Then I put my observation here, that's the data feature vector of mine. Then I just check whether the indexes, then you can see that it's a frequency is none, it is not setting any frequencies, but actually once you use this simple expo smoothing, we have to set the frequency. MS in the sense for months, you can refer them once you go with the documentation of Python, you can check them, because in here it's month, the frequency is month. Then we have to set it here manually because Python doesn't know. Once he load this data, he doesn't know what is the frequency of this data, but it once we go with this simple exponential smoothing approach, we want to set this frequency, otherwise he will be struggling to identify the frequency, right? In this cell 97, actually n in the sense I'm going to forecast next 12 months, because my frequency is months. Then I'm going to predict what happened next 12 months, what happened in next 12 months. Then I divide my data set into two parts, training and test, right? Then in the training data set, I just put this training observation into this model to train the model, right? Then I have set this smoothing level, these hyperparameters. You can check them through like this. Once you go here and with the shift tab, all the parameters are listed here. You can use this component and check what happened to the model, right? All the description and everything is available there. How do you get it? You have to put the mouse cursor in here, then shift tab. Once you click shift tab, you can see what are the available parameters in this model. Then you can tune them, right? Then I just discussing that extreme corners and illustrating the things. Then I have put this data into model, and I'm going to feed with the parameter, set this smoothing level into 0.2 first scenario. Then I get the results. Then this model again I feed with the smoothing level with 0.8, two extreme corners, because first one is near to 0, another one is near to 1. I just want to check whether what happened, right? What happened, that's it. Then this code base, actually I'm getting the indexes of training and testing data. Then in here, fitted value in the sense, what are the fitted value, that training values, and the forecast. Then I'm going to forecast with this nth data points, which means next year or 12 months. Then I set these results into this. This is with hyperparameter of smoothing level of 0.2. And the second one is hyperparameter smoothing level with 0.8. Then I calculate both and I fitted them into this model and I get the results. And in this data frame, we have observation actual values, then the fitted with hyperparameter with 0.2 and fitted with 0.8, right? Then I plot it. You can see observation, that original values in the blue color, then the fitted with 0.2 hyperparameter set as 0.2 in the orange color, and the hyperparameter set with 0.8 is green color. You can see once it comes to 1, it's very close to that actual data. It reflecting, but it goes to lower level, it just smoothing. But you can see in here in the ladder pad, this forecasting in after 2007, we are forecasting 12 months. You can see it's just a horizontal line. Nothing is forecasting. Nothing is forecasting. Why? What is happened there? Nothing is forecast. Then what the hell up to now we are doing? It's in main, right? Because we discuss simple moving average, then exponential moving average and things like that in order to forecast or predict the next value, what happened next. But ultimately, after some time, what we are experimenting several steps and implementing the code, and after all, we have seen it's actually just horizontal line. Nothing is forecast because actual data is like this. There is a fluctuations, trend and seasonal component. That's what I initially say. This moving average approach, exponential moving average, or whatever the approach in here, the very first time, you can say, I'll go back to there. Simple exponential smoothing for non-trending, non-seasonal time series. If there is seasonal or trending component, we are unable to apply it. In that case, you know what we have to do, right? We discussed it last lecture, right? That's what it's obvious in here. You can see it's obvious. It is not predicting future perfectly. It's just horizontal line. But with the training data, it perfectly match because it can simulate what happened previously with this exponential value, right? Right. Then I just printed out what are the parameters of them. Smoothing level, we manually set 0.10, sorry, 0.2. And initial level, they decide it where to start. And here also in that second model, we set it to 0.8 and they initiated with 3.52 as initial level. Then you can tune them. You can tune these parameters and check whether what happened to this. What happened to here? If there is any deviation, if there is any uptrend or downtrend, or if there is any this fluctuation identify or things like that, you can actually practice it, right? Okay, then that is moving average approach. Then I'm going to discuss Hall's linear trend model, where we can go with trending but not the seasonal component. In this model, we can go somewhat of trending area in the sense trending component. The previously we were unable to go any with trending or seasonal component, but in the Hall's linear trend model, sorry, here, right, trend model, we can simulate or we can go with trends, right? Then it's actually extends the exponential weighted moving average model for forecasting the trend component. That exponential weighted moving average model is failed to go with trend component and even seasonal component as well. But Hall's linear trend model is capable enough to integrate the trend component into this exponential weighted moving average model. That's a extended version of exponential weighted moving average model. So in here, you can see the equation. Y hat equal to LT plus HBT. So what are they? Actually, you can see some similarity in here. It's like y equal mx plus c, right? Where bt is the slope or trend and c is the intercept, starting value of the forecast. Right? H is the number of steps in the forecast. Then L component and B component have been mentioned here with the equation. Actually, you can see some similarity in here. In the L sub t equal to alpha yt plus 1 minus alpha L sub t minus 1 plus b t minus 1. Actually, this b reflect the trend component. You can see in here, and this is the initial value component. Right? Then just let me show you this equation. X bar sub t equal alpha times xt plus 1 minus alpha times x bar t minus 1. And let's go again to this equation. Can you see some similarities in here? That's what I say. It's a extent of the EWMA. In here, it's applying this trend component into EWMA model. Right? I think it's clear enough for you to understand. And let's see how do we implement this code, halt method. Then in this stat models method library, we have this halt function. Actually, this stat models, if you are familiar with R, all the R functions or R library and all R function library and everything is available in a Python library called this stats model. Then you can call them in here directly. Right, so I'm not explaining the same thing again in here. We are going to forecast next 12 month, then training and test data sets. I'm creating training and test data sets, and I'm initiating this halt model, then calling to class this halt, and I'm passing my data, train data, to train the model. Then I feed as previous, because I'm going with some comparison in here. Previously also what we have done, you can see the smoothing level 02, smoothing level 08, two models. We have two models, and here also I'm doing the same thing to perform the comparison. Then I halt fit with this and get the results, fit with this, get the result. Then I'm plotting them. Then let's see what happened. See halt 0.2, 0.8. You can see the previously up to in here, the same thing happened. Once the parameters reach to 1, it goes with most probably the original data set, but other way around, once the value reach to near to 0. But in here, you can see from here to here, we have some trend, right? Linear instead of horizontal line. In previously, see, it's totally horizontal. He is not capturing or identifying or observing any trend, any upward or downward movement in EWMA. But with respect to this whole linear trend model, in this trending component in here, he is capable enough to get somewhat of a possibility to simulate or forecast the trend component. That's what I said previously. It's interact with trending part, but not the seasonal component. In here, that seasonal component is not captured But the trending component, he has somewhat of a upward movement to tally with this data point. So that's the Holt's method, where the trend component can be inserted to the model. Then based on your data set, you have to choose what kind of a model, or what is the model that you want to go in to forecast the data, right? Then our final model, a last model, is called Holt-Winter model. Then you can think of this. Actually, it's go with both trend as well as seasonal component, both together. Then in here, basically 3 components. In the first one, we have only mean or average, right? Mean or average component in that moving average aspect. Then it is not capable to identify either trend or seasonal component. Then in the second approach, Holt's method, we were able to incorporate trending aspect or component, but not the seasonal component. Right now, we are coming to the stage where we can incorporate all these 3 together, which means trend, seasonal, and average component. That's what I put in the average in the brackets, where everything else fluctuate. That's the place where a given point the fluctuations happen. Then we average out it and get it. Then the technical terms, it's level, and the seasonal cycles, trend, the linear, because you can see in previous, it's actually linear model, right? This is a linear model. Then it reflects the linearity. You can see in here, it's reflect the linearity, but not the seasonal component, not the fluctuations. Good. Then once it comes to Holt-Winter model, I said that there are 3 components basically, and we have 2 approaches for this to implement 2 approaches. One is additive method, and the second one is multiplicative method. Then in the additive method, we use level or average plus trend plus seasonal. It is well suited for seasonal variation is relatively constant over time. So once you use this Holt-Winter model, you should have somewhat of a domain knowledge as well as a data scientist or statistician. You have to first perform some exploratory data analysis or visualization of the data, and some statistical techniques to check whether the behavior of seasonal component. Then the variation relatively constant of the seasonal component, actually you can go with this Holt-Winter model with additive approach, or else you can go with multiplicative method, where level plus trend multiplied with seasonal component. Then the seasonal variation increases over the time. Then if the seasonal component variate over the time, you can go with multiplicative method, or else you have to go with additive method. But the key thing in here, we can actually incorporate all trend, seasonal, and average case in here as well. But in the previous 2 cases, we were unable to go with either trend component or both. But actually it's totally depend on the data set, where some data set may have some cyclic patterns, some may have some trend component, some may have residuals as well, and things like that. But in this scenario, this forecasting method, whatever, we didn't discuss anything about residuals. We just discussed about trend and seasonalities, right? Then later on, actually, we are discussing how do we forecast time series with residuals as well. Up to now, then let's see actually how do we perform these. I'm not explaining the same thing again and again. Then if there is a class called exponential smoothing, you can use it to for with the Holt-Winter method. And I don't think about this R2 score right now. And I make the train and test for 12 months of time. I'm going to predict. Then in here, this is the exponential smoothing class. Then we have hyperparameters. You can check them once you click in here with the shift tab. Then you can see trend, damp, seasonal periods, dates, frequency, missing, and things. You can actually fine tune these attribute in order to get better estimation, right? Then our data is train observation data. Then for the trend component, I go with additive, and seasonal component I am going additive. The both scenario, just I check with, I said that we have two approach, additive and multiplicative. Then I didn't see or discuss anything about dataset. I just add this additive approach for this trend and seasonal component, and seasonal period is 12 because it's a year-round data. Then we are going to forecast for next 12 months as well. Then seasonal period, I thought of having 12 months. But actually, it's also totally depend on the data. You have to examine in the data set and check whether how the seasonal component is occurring, right? Things like that. Then first, let's see with this trend and seasonal component with the additive approach. Then let me this. Then I fit it. See, right now what happened? Actually, it's just matching with the exact data, but there are some lacking place. But it's far advanced with previous things. In here, it's just upward line, and in here it's just horizontal line. But in here, it's identifying some the seasonal and trend component, right? Then I add two matrices in here to check whether it's correct or not. I have discussed them, right? Root mean squared error and mean absolute error, right? Then these two, then check whether what we can see, right? In the root mean squared error, you can see in the training data set, it's someone of 0.76 and test 2.17. And for the root mean absolute error 0.5, 1.8. Right, it's for additive approach. Then change this seasonal component to multiplicative approach. Then let's see what happened. It's showing graphically similar, but let's see with this statistics. It bit better, I think, because training is 0.7. Test is also minimizing. And in here also it's getting reduced for 0.48 and 1.77. All right, then let's go with both with multiplicative approach. Then let's see. Graphically it shows same thing. I think multiplicative approach is much better. It's much better, but there is somewhat of a overfitting as well, because training is that it's very low somehow. In the test, it's getting some higher value. Anyhow, it's sample data set. So that's how actually we have to perform these approaches, where you can see, and there are other matrices as well that measure matrices like R2 score you can use. Actually, we discuss this pros and cons of this each and everything. So I think you can recall them as well once you selecting that matrices to evaluate the model. Here I use root mean squared error. In that case, if I have some negative values, it's multiplied and get the root of that, square root of that, so that I can get the same unit. Then the comparison is much easier. Then mean is absolute error. I calculate that mean absolute error to get somewhat of idea that exact data point, how the deviation happen with given to a specific data point, not the overall. In that case, actually it's 1.6 some unit. Anyhow, I don't know what's that, whether it's a millisecond or whether it's a day or month or what. Actually, it's in here, it's month actually, but in the observation, actually, we don't know what is that. It kind of suppose air passengers per month, or somewhat of a weight of a good, we don't know. Anyhow, that in the real observation we have 1.3 point 4 point and things like that. Like, let's see, just get an info. Just let me 1 second. Let's go in here. PDF. Sorry. Right, observation, there are 204 data points. Mean is 10. Standard deviation is 5. Minimum value is 2.81. Maximum value is 29. That mean value is 10. Then once we go with here, mean is almost actually that model is fine. Actually, compared with the mean value, very small deviation is there, so it's fine. So anyhow, you can think of that. Then let's summarize the things that we have discussed today lecture. So first, let me go there first. Right. First, what we have discussed is forecasting models. I said that there are ways of forecasting approach with respect to time series analysis. These are some of them, where we discuss basically that forecasting the time series with respect to seasonal component and trending component, where we discuss moving average approach with simple moving average as well as exponential moving average, and what are the advantages and where to use them and why do we use them and things like that. Then second, we discuss Holt's model, where how do we incorporate trend into exponential moving average, right? In here, where it's a linear model with this equation, it's a linear model where it's an extended version of EWMA, because EWMA is failed to model the trend and seasonal component. But in the Hall's linear trending model, it's a linearly model the trend on top of EWMA. Then we discuss Holt Winter model, where we are able to incorporate trend, seasonal as well as average component into this. And there are two approaches to implement them. One is additive method and other one is multiplicative method. Then we discuss where to use additive method, then what are the component of this additive method, then how do they incorporate together, and multiplicative method, what are the things and how they incorporate them together and things like that. And we practice all of them with some dummy data with Python code to get somewhat of an initial understanding. And we use some matrices to evaluate the model, and graphically we evaluate them and things like that. So this is the second lecture where we initiate our forecasting approaches. So then in the next lectures we will discuss more on this forecast model.